Chicago is going to have to hang on to the Chicago Cubs as the bona fide team for that city because Lord knows the Bears ain't doing it. So
that was a really nice segue, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Dodgers are up 4-1 now, not just 3-1.
Okay.
So not looking great for the Chicago Cubs, possibly being down 3-0. 2 more games at home after this one. I'm done talking about baseball.
Yeah. For let's see who scored. It was Yu Darvish. Oh my God.
He's their pitcher. If you don't know,
Yu Darvish not even hitting a run. He was walked with the bases loaded.
Oh my gosh.
That is not good. Pedro Strop, good job. You walked a pitcher with the bases loaded to force in a run. That is pretty much the worst thing you can do on a baseball field in a playoff game. So, anyways, Chicago Bulls, I have the worst team in the East. And so people are talking about how bad the East is, and I totally agree. Although, if you look at the top, 9, I would say the top 9 teams in the East, they're battling for a playoff spot. I think there are 9 teams that can make the playoffs. The top 9 are not terrible. But if you look at the bottom 6, maybe not Orlando, but the bottom 5, they're all teams that are totally going for the future. And I'm talking about, and you may have different teams. They may finish in a different order. But the 5 teams that I have absolutely bringing up the bottom of the East, already talked about Chicago. The Brooklyn Nets, who last year went 20-62. I don't see them being much better this year. The New York Knicks, they do have my man Kristaps Porzingis. They traded for Enes Kanter. Bye-bye Carmelo Anthony. I don't see them doing much, even though they're young French point guard, Mr. Frank Ntilikina, I believe. That's how you pronounce it, Ntilikina?
We're going to say yes.
Yes.
We'll get our producers on it.
Survey says yes. They're going to be bad. The Indiana Pacers are going to be bad. Paul George no longer propping them up. And the Atlanta Hawks are going to be bad. I think those are the bottom 5 teams. I have them in that order. I have none of those teams winning more than 26 or 27 games max. I think all those teams are going to be very ugly. The only reason they win more than that is because they're going to be playing each other 3 to 4 times. So,
if I may,
yes,
a team that might stick out in the East this year and might actually do pretty well because of how bad the East is Charlotte.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I love Kemba Walker, one of my favorite, really strong point guards in the NBA. I mean, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist probably will not play in their season opener because he's on personal leave. Mm-hmm. And then, obviously, they still have Jeremy Lamb. And the big guy, who is hurt right now, Batum, he's going to be a stud for them once he gets back.
Yeah, and he's out 8 to 10 weeks. Obviously, a big blow for them. But I think they have a better core. They have a better rotation to be able to survive that. Now with Malik Monk coming in there.
And they have another guy who might rejuvenate his career in Mr. Dwight Howard. Yeah. He's bounced around a ton. I think he might be able to help this team out a lot if he can be a veteran, if he can be smart, which for the first time in his career, he really needs to be that presence that helps people out rather than puts people down.
Yeah.
And
look, Charlotte last year, their problem was not on the offensive, or their problem was not on the defensive end. Their problem was on the offensive end.
Which is a good problem.
Yeah, which is a good problem. Steve Clifford I think, is a good coach. So having Dwight Howard back there, you're not looking for Dwight Howard to put up 20 points a game like he did in his Orlando heyday. You're looking for him to average about 11 points, 11 rebounds, and a couple to 3 blocks per game. You want him as the defensive anchor back there. Cody Zeller was not high on him coming out of Indiana. I thought he was kind of too much of a tweener. He wasn't big enough to be a center, wasn't really skilled enough or quick enough to guard fours, but he's turned into a nice player. I think he's going to be a nice backup for Dwight Howard. But Frank Kaminsky, I think he is a X factor for them. He can hit threes, he can block shots, almost like a Raef LaFrentz out there for all you Raef LaFrentz Denver Nuggets fans. Maybe Alex Fletcher being a Denver Nuggets fan.
Well, he's not. He
is now. I mean, he
has to be now.
Yeah, exactly. He has to know the entire history of the Denver Nuggets because he picked them as his sleeper team.
There's a very small part of me that wants Denver to tank really bad this year.
Yeah.
Also, just quick update, because we talked about this last week, or on Saturday, the Saturday special. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It was a good one.
It was good.
I did beat Kendall in fantasy football. Doubled her score.
Oh, dang.
She had Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah. See, and that is a sad. Oh, no. I just realized I need to put in a waiver claim because I have the 2 quarterbacks I have in, I don't know if it's our league, if it's the Clutch League or it's another one on Yahoo. The two quarterbacks, I drafted Aaron Rodgers. He's been doing great, but now he's hurt. The second quarterback I had him back up, I thought, okay, well, once Aaron Rodgers has a bye week, this guy will be healthy and finally be able to get in. Andrew Luck. No, that hasn't not worked out. So I have no quarterbacks in my roster right now that are going to be able to play.
I read a story that theorized that the Colts have been super vague on whether Andrew Luck would come back and when he would come back, simply to keep some booties in the seats.
Maybe.
But now, Jacoby Brissett, he looks good.
He's not doing terrible.
I like him.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not talking about NFL today.
No,
I'm sorry I even brought it up.
There.
I just really wanted to brag a little bit because I went 3-0 this week in fantasy football.
Shame on you.
And I think I pretty much doubled everyone I played against, but I played against Aaron Rodgers in 2 different leagues. So I got lucky this week. Yeah. Anyways, who's your team to watch? Did you have time to pick one?
Team to watch just in Eastern Conference or in the entirety of the NBA?
Mine was Charlotte. Alex was Denver. And Brian was the Heat. Who is this Alex?
This Alex says, a team to watch. Let's see. I'm scrolling through my notes here. A team to watch. A team that a lot of people don't have in the playoffs, maybe on the outside looking in. And maybe this is hopefulness for me because one of my favorite players in the NBA is on this team. But if the New Orleans Pelicans don't find a way into the playoffs, then they absolutely need to clean house with the coaching staff, the front office, everything. Because if you have, you could argue that they have the 2 best big men in the entire league. You have the Brow, Anthony Davis, and you have Boogie Cousins. And you could argue Karl Anthony Towns. There's other guys you can put in that conversation.
LaMarcus A.
Huh?
LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, maybe LaMarcus Aldridge. But, obviously, the NBA has really gone away from the powerhouse big man, which is why the New Orleans has the exact advantage that they need. They have 2 behemoths. They have 6'11", 270-pound DeMarcus Cousins, and they have 6'10", 253-pound Anthony the Brow Davis. 2 guys who can play down low, who can shoot outside. Anthony Davis is more of a long 2 guy. DeMarcus can go out to the 3, but DeMarcus is a playmaker. Anthony Davis, both these guys have averaged 25 points per game in their last couple of seasons. To have the best twin tower setup in the NBA since Tim Duncan and David Robinson, if they don't make the playoffs, and I know the West is stacked, you can go to 11 or 12 teams in the West who are looking to make the playoffs this year, whereas the East, like I said, it's kind of 9, maybe 10 teams. That is going to be a huge indictment, one, on the general manager, because they have surrounded them with no one who can shoot the basketball. You need to have a 3-point shooter on your team to be able to pair with 2 guys who are going to be down low. And DeMarcus Cousins can hit threes, like I said, but you don't want him staying out there because you want him. He has one of the best offensive rebounding abilities in the entire league. He has enormous hands. He has got soft hands. He is a offensive rebounding machine. So he should not be camping out the 3-point line like they had him last year after they traded for the Kings. They need to find a 3-point shooter. If they were able to sign someone like JJ Redick, like Philadelphia got him, that would have been enormous for them. I would have put absolute lock, 6 or 5 seed in the West if they got that. But since they didn't, since they decided to sign a guy in Rajon Rondo who couldn't hit a 3 to save his life.
That was one of the most perplexing signings I've ever seen.
The only thing that makes sense about it is now Drew Holiday won't have to play the point guard all the time, and he's a pretty good shooter. He's more of a driver, but he's a better offensive player scoring points-wise than Rajon Rondo. So he'll be able to play off the ball more and not have to try to make plays for everyone else, and he can spot up and shoot. Ian Clark, they signed Ian Clark. He can make some threes, but who knows if that's just because everyone's looking out for everyone else in the Warriors when he was on there. So if the Pelicans, I have them slated as a number 7 seed in the West. If they don't make the playoffs, Alvin Gentry needs to go. Dill Demps needs to go. Boogie Cousins is probably going to leave in free agency. And it's been an absolute disaster because if you have 2 guys that talented, 2 of the top 10 players in the league, in my opinion, the 2 best low post players in the league, and you can't make the playoffs, that is sad. So, sleeper, hopefully they do it. If not, it's an indictment on the coaching staff.
Before I get to why I disagree with that sentiment, that they will make the playoffs, how many points a game do you think the 2 of them are going to average together, combined?
I'll say 51.
Do you think they have potential to be the highest scoring duo in NBA history?
Now, see, I need to find who that is. I
haven't even looked at the stats. I would assume it's Wilt Chamberlain and someone.
It'd probably be Wilt, because all you had to do is average 10 points for Wilt, and you're averaging 60 points that 1 year. But I would say it's probably someone in like the 60s or 70s. It could be like Elgin Baylor and Jerry West. I know they had some years that Elgin Baylor averaged like 36 and Jerry West was like 25. So, but I mean, they could be one of the highest scoring tandems in recent memory for sure. They could be, a Kobe and Shaq, where they're both averaging 25 points per game. But I mean, it's because they have to, because Jrue Holiday is their third best player, and then it just falls off a cliff after that. It boggles my mind that they couldn't just sign one, like Jimmer Fredette. And I'm going back to my Kings days. He averaged, I think, like 35 points in the Chinese league, and he did not play well in the NBA. He played in 5 parts of 5 different seasons. He averaged 6 points per game, but he shot 38% from 3. This is a guy who can shoot an open shot, and he averaged, like I said, he went all out in China. If they just signed Jimmer Fredette to a 1-year, $3 million deal, and you played him 15 to 20 minutes off the bench to make threes, and that's literally all you have to do, he can get blown by, and because he's a terrible defender. But Boogie and the Brow are both back there, so they're going to have guys to protect the rim. Why not do that? I just don't understand the way they're building this team when they have the most unique opportunity in the league with both those guys back there. It makes me mad, because I've kind of adopted them as my number 2 team, because I love Boogie, being a Sacramento Kings fan, and the Kings, I think, are going to be terrible again this year. So looking forward to hopefully what could be a good season for the Pelicans, but I'm not high on the coaching staff.
And if I may rebut.
Yes, go ahead.
There's no chance they make the playoffs,
okay,
because of many of the things that you just outlined.
Yeah, no, for sure.
They have 0 perimeter defense.
See, I don't agree with that. They have 0 perimeter offense.
Okay, but my whole thing is, what happens when the Warriors put in their death lineup, or another team puts in a small lineup that can just dribble around Boogie or the Brow? And point guards are finding more and more ways to score in the paint over big guys like that.
But the thing is that the league is going away from having 2 big guys. I mean, you're looking at...
So they don't match up well.
No, but they match up excellently on offense.
Terribly on defense.
Not necessarily, because you can't drive on them. There's 2 guys who are, pushing 7 foot tall, who have enormous wingspans, who can block shots. And Boogie's got great hands, and Anthony Davis is a shot-blocking machine because of how long his arms are. I mean, you're going to be able to shoot tons of threes on them, probably, and if you're shooting well, you can beat them. But there's no team in the league that can stop both those guys if they're both playing down low, and they're both really good passers, especially Boogie. So it's like the Andrew Bogut, Pau Gasol situation. Pau Gasol was a playmaking guy who could also play down low, and he stretched out, and he just passed over the top of people right to Andrew Bogut. And no, sorry, not Andrew Bogut. Bynum, yes. Andrew Bynum's been out of my mind for so long. I always say Bogut, but Andrew Bynum, that it just worked. So to not be able to, I mean, it was kind of understandable when they traded for a midseason, because it's okay. Now we have this whole new piece, a totally different way to go about with our system. But now that you had a summer to work on it, if you don't have a lot of sets that are going to be just those 2 guys having the ball, pick and roll, Boogie and Brow, I mean, my God, there's no one in the league that can stop that. It's, to me, if they don't get in the playoffs, then Alvin Gentry should never be a head coach in the NBA ever again. And he probably shouldn't have been in New Orleans anyways.
Speaking of unstoppable forces, Kevin Durant just pulled out the Dirk shot.
Yeah.
And if he can perfect that, there's no chance you can stop him unless you put 3 guys on him.
For sure.
The Warriors, it's unfair.
That would leave someone
Swaggy P?
Yeah, Swaggy P. Swaggy P is going to score 40 in a game this year, and it's going to really make me upset. Yeah, so that's my sleeper, hopefully. And so I think everyone has, obviously the top 5 teams in the West. The Timberwolves, the Spurs, the Thunder, the Rockets, and the Warriors. I think most everyone, except for your brother, has that top 5. I think with the top 4 being concrete, the Thunder, the Spurs, the Rockets, and the Warriors. Besides that,